Now, there is a main reason why I, and along with many others out there, really like to label Bob Iger as Bob Liger. We all know that this man does nothing but lie. He lies to the core customer base. He lies to, of course, the shareholders and even the general public at that, and continues to do so. We know that one time that he actually admitted, or at least halfway admitted, that there was an agenda, that there was a message going on over at the Disney company when he said, we're going to be quieting down the noise, right? We're going to be quieting down the noise when it comes to everything related for Disney, Marvel, Pixar, their live action department, and then months later says that there's no agenda at the Disney company, period, the end. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You could also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, after the Fantastic Four box office disaster, and it is indeed a box office nightmare for Disney and Marvel Studios right now, based on how much they invested into this film, into the marketing campaign, into the press tour, and you also have to take note of the fact that movie theater chains, right, the movie theaters themselves, they take a very big chunk of the earnings from a movie. Just remember that. So one thing about Bob Iger right now is that he is indeed playing the blame game yet again. He's actually becoming more and more political over the past month and a half, give or take, really blaming Trump supporters, Trump's policies, the entire administration, the White House. I mean, it's only getting worse and worse, and now I fully understand why. Pedro Pascal was not shown the door just yet because of how many political comments he made. Well, it's because Bob Iger, he himself, is very much political. And look, we know one thing about, Bob Iger right now is that he's already beginning to become more vocal when it comes to the current status of Marvel and Star Wars. Let's get into this. Now, with Disney CEO Bob Iger already becoming more vocal after both Marvel projects such as the Fantastic Four, Captain America Brave New World, and Thunderbolts were, of course, labeled as box office disappointments for both Bob Iger and Kevin Feige. One major development going on now involves Bob Iger turning this into a political issue, yet again, when it involves the decline in interest not just for Marvel, but also for Star Wars as well. Bob Iger recently delivered the following. As CEO, it is my responsibility to actually serve as the face of this company that is home to some of the most valuable properties and brands. Brands such as Marvel and Star Wars are what we view as our top priority business models. The series of unfortunate events that we have faced here at the Disney company doesn't just involve political propaganda coming from the current administration, but also from the followers and supporters of that administration that promote the very idea that we here at the Disney company are all about engaging in a culture war or promoting a forced agenda or identity politics. All of these claims are purposely used to build up a false narrative about what Disney stands for, and though we do respect and support DEI to our fullest, this in no way translates it to being any sort of an agenda. Politics are to blame as to why we are witnessing a sharp decline in some angles of our brands, such as Star Wars and Marvel. And though I am not concerned about this decline in the long term, if we don't address the cause in the present, this can certainly damage our most valuable business models and properties permanently. Audience division is something that we always aim to prevent here at the Disney company, and unfortunately we have been dealing with a loud, vocal minority coming from within the Star Wars community and the Marvel community that pushes political propaganda to convince others to perceive the Disney company in a different way. This type of behavior is something that must be addressed, and during these delicate times, when an administration aims to abolish DEI, something that we fully support and will continue to use for the future of not just Marvel, but also with our Star Wars brand at Lucasfilm as well. The decline of interest for these brands of a certain percentage, that we have full confidence that this actually stems from a political landscape that is now only molding people's view of our company differently, but it's something that now serves as an obstacle that we must get past. Now guys, let me just say one thing about Bob Iger here. Now, Bob Iger is not just blaming Trump's policies, the Trump administration, everything related to the White House, and how they're really doubling down on getting rid of DEI. It's the one thing that I'm really rooting for when it comes to Trump's administration, is that DEI did go in a very terrible direction, right? It was taking over everything, whether it was the film industry, the entertainment industry, everywhere, music, everywhere, even into video games. It was all over different organizations. It was in everyday lives, you know, people's jobs. And it really was something that was actually just flooding the entire United States on every angle. Now, we know one thing about Bob Iger right now is that, look, he views DEI as a good thing. He views DEI as a fair and balanced thing that actually promotes, you know, people coming to their company. And in the long run, if anything, it creates more division. It creates more consequences for the Disney company. That's exactly why people are moving away from Disney. They're heading to other studios out there to support that are dropping DEI, that are actually getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because, like I've always pointed out, when you're focused or way too focused on an agenda, because let's be honest, DEI is indeed an agenda. Bob Iger can hide that all he wants to, and he can actually, you know, admit this if he wanted to, but it is the ultimate truth that DEI creates a very big division, not just with the customers, but also within the corporate ladder. That's exactly why there's a whole shakeup going on right now over at Disney, because you have some of the board members that do not believe in this nonsense, but you do have the majority of the board of directors that are all for it, which is why there's such an unbalanced, you know, thing going on right now for Disney's view of Marvel, Star Wars, the live action area, Pixar, etc., etc. And it's why you've seen so many box office, you know, failures and disappointments by the Disney company over the past several years now. Now, what's interesting here is that he goes on to actually continue. I am more than proud to announce that we will not abolish DEI at this, of course, this company due to this administration and what they are hoping for. We view DEI as a successful way to not only welcome everyone around the world, but as a proper tool to reach a wider global audience that will improve our business models. For those to blame DEI as a form of an agenda, we ask those claiming this to fully understand that diversity, equity, and inclusion really means for this industry and what it really means at the heart, and especially here at the Disney company, and how much good it can bring to our many business models, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel or anything else. Now again, we know that he's already blaming the decline in interest for Star Wars and Marvel on Trump's administration and their aim to abolish DEI. That's just utter nonsense, alright? We all know that it all boils down to the creative decisions and choices that they made. And look, let's be very honest about this, guys. All DEI stuff aside, we actually dealt with a lot of bad movies, a lot of bad television shows when it came to the creative angles, right? Not just related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. A lot of it was indeed just driven by bad movies being put out, bad television programs being put out by the Disney company. You know, when you look at movies like The Last Jedi, when it came to Star Wars, that was the big beginning of everything, right? When you're looking at Marvel, right? You got shows, for example, that were massive failures on Disney Plus. You got movies that were box office failures for, of course, the Disney company. I mean, The Eternals was a big flop for them. We know that when you're looking at other angles, like The Marvels, another failure of a movie, by the way, that did not work for them at all. There are several examples, but overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.